Beauty Rising from Brokenness is anybody who has had a difficult or traumatic childhood, a difficult or traumatic life. I have a lot of women reach out to me who have been through domestic violence and things like that. They can relate because I talk about narcissism and I talk about how a narcissistic person, how they gaslight you and how they convince you that it's you and all of these things. And a lot of people who don't know that those traumas can trigger health issues later in their life, especially autoimmune illnesses, diabetes, obesity. All of those things can be triggered by childhood traumas or adult traumas as well. And if you try to bury those and you don't deal with them, they only manifest and grow and it's like a cancer. It just continues to grow until you get it out and heal it. And so I wrote the book to encourage other people who have been through traumas or going through traumas to write their story or tell their story and then examine it. And it's better if you can write it. And I get so many people that are like, I don't like to write. I hate to write. And I felt the same way. I had no intention of ever being an author. It wasn't my idea. It just came to me from somewhere else. And, from a higher power told me that I needed to write. It wasn't something that I pursued or ever even considered doing. But once you write, and even if you record it and then have it transcribed or get an app that transcribes it, then you can go through and you can single out those traumas and the damage that they've caused. Just to give you a quick example, when I was in high school, I drove to school every day and I had a friend that rode with me. And I love country music. I'd sing country music at the top of my lungs. And so one day I said, I think I might want to be a country singer. And she said, I think you need to get another drink.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have someone joining me from somewhere quite warm in comparison to where I am here in Canada. Elizabeth is here today. We're going to be talking about her books, her writings, all the things she's doing, and she's living in an RV, which is amazing. And her pets are quietly sleeping in the room there with her. Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Living the Next Chapter.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all of the stuff we have going on.
It's amazing. Okay, so let's start right off the bat. Let's see the book, because that's always fun for people watching. Tell me about the book that you have in your hand, and this is exciting to see that. I love it.
This is my first book. It's Beauty Rising from Brokenness, My Journey Through Childhood Trauma and Chronic Illness and Into Healing. And it is a combination self-help and memoir. And I walk the reader and take them through my journey of my childhood and how it surfaced in my 30s as chronic illness, and how I walked through healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because I'm a naturopath and I try to do everything holistically. So when I started having a lot of depression and anger and anxiety and all those things, I went to the doctor, and I didn't go in and say, hey, give me a pill and fix me. I went in and said, what do we need to do? And so she sent me to a counselor, and with my naturopathic training, I walked myself through healing along with the help of my counselor to get back on my feet, recover from that, and be able to make a difference in the world now.
Amazing. And when we talked earlier, you shared some pretty amazing history about yourself where you basically, the doctors told you one thing and you're like, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make my life different. And can you kind of walk us through what happened there? Because that was inspiring.
That's part of my second book that'll be coming out hopefully later this year, Warrior Rising from Ashes. This is a trilogy, and I'm living the third book. I don't even know the name of it. I'm living that book out right now. I'll figure it out when I get there. But when I went through this journey and I got a degree of healing, I felt like I needed to just get away. Go somewhere, see something different, be something different. My husband's 33 years military. So we were stationed in Michigan at the time. And we are from Louisiana. So I made the trip back home with my two youngest kids to visit our family and friends and everybody. And then came back and met him in Kentucky for a camping trip. And we loved our camper. Our camper was temporary housing and also a great form of inexpensive recreation for our family. And so we met him, we camped and had a weekend with his parents and his sisters and their families, boating and having lots of fun. And we all left on Friday morning. And on our way home, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we crossed that Michigan line and we were getting into construction. If you know anything about the Midwest, there are two seasons, winter and construction. We were deep in the middle of orange barrel construction season. There was a semi truck in front of us and the lanes were shifting and moving, and he wasn't obeying the signs. And he shifted that. We got to that where the lane shifted to the shoulder and the right hand lane. And he was supposed to be in that right hand lane. He never got over. We got to a bridge that kind of was decorative and it arched over, and he didn't think he could clear the bridge, and he locked his brakes up. And he was empty from Canada, had dropped a load in Ohio and was headed back to Canada. And we were pulling that 5,000-pound camper. And my son had just asked me a question, and I turned around in my seat with my seatbelt still on to answer his question. I caught out of the corner of my eye my husband stomped on the brakes with both feet. And I thought, I've been all over the country in this camper, pulling this camper, and you can't stop like that. It's a slow stop.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I knew, we hit that truck. Then the camper hit us. Our daughters, who were 16 and 18, were driving in my husband's truck behind us. They hit the camper, and the camper hit us again. And it was one big accordion crash.
Mm.
And we were trapped in a Suburban. My husband crawled through the seat, kicked the window out, got our son out, took him to the shoulder of the road with our daughters, where our daughters were, came back and tried to help me get out. But I was just completely in shock. It was like an out-of-body experience. I thought my son was screaming from the back seat, but it was me that was screaming.
Mm.
My husband told me to unbuckle and crawl in the back and crawl out the window. I couldn't even figure out how to unbuckle my seatbelt. I didn't know where I was. He crawled in, unbuckled me, gave me step-by-step instructions, pulled me out of the window, took me to the kids. And mom brain kicked in, and I'm checking the kids. Are they okay? For oldest daughter's got some cuts and bruises from the airbag. She's okay. Middle daughter seems to be okay. Our son, who was 11, had bruises from his neck to his knees, just black and blue, like that fast. The next thing I know, the police officer arrives and says, get away from these vehicles. They're going to go up in smoke. They're going to blow up. They're going to, they could go up in flames at any minute. And I thought, oh no, not with my dog in there, because my dog was still in his kennel in the truck. And so we went to get the dog's kennels, and I tried to pick up my dog's kennel and move it. Well, my dog weighed 65 pounds without the kennel. He was a full blood border collie. And when I did, I started having trouble breathing. Well, they took us to the hospital by ambulance. Of course, all our cars are destroyed at this point. And they sent me, they said I had a broken sternum, and they sent me to the cardiac ward for monitoring. I got home 5 days later, and at the ripe old age of 38, I was 100% disabled and bedridden for the next 12 years.
Wow.
From that auto accident.
Wow, 12 years.
12 years. It was a long 12 years. Started in a wheelchair and had to fight my way back to being able to walk with a walker, then with a cane, to now I don't use anything. I have bad days every once in a while. Well, I'll have to pull the cane back out, or if I fly, I use it because of the amount of walking involved. But for the most part, I function pretty well without all of that extra. But it took a long time, a lot of healing. It was a long process. And the thing people ask me all the time, so I travel all over the world and speak and do book tours and book sightings, and people are always saying, how did you get up out of that bed and do everything you did now? One step at a time.
Mm.
They think you went from here in bed 12 years and then you're up doing this. But you have to take it slow, one day at a time. And you have to get back up.
Were there days where you just couldn't do it, or you didn't think it was possible?
There are still days. Yesterday was a terrible day. We had a lot of storms coming through here and a front coming through. So I was in more pain than I normally am. I have chronic pain every day from the injuries, and it's a repair and replace process now that we're going through. Had my knee replaced a couple of years ago, and because both my knees hit the dash, I ruptured a disc in my back and damaged nerves in my back and my neck as well, plus the broken sternum. So it's, it's a day-to-day thing, but most days I just go ahead and do what needs to be done, because I have a calling and a higher purpose, and I'm not going to just let all of this wisdom and knowledge and experience go to waste.
So let's go down that path. Your calling, your higher purpose. What is it, and how does this manifest for you?
I believe that I have been through everything I've been through to inspire and encourage others to tell their story. Because once one person is brave enough to step up and tell their story, it gives somebody else the courage to tell theirs. So I work with people helping them tell their stories, whether it's a chapter in an anthology book, whether it's they want to speak and tell their story from stage, they want to do podcasts like this or social media live interviews, or if they just want to record their history and their legacy for their family on their computer or on their phone on a voice app. I help them craft and tell their story in a way that they can put it together and tell it without bringing up all the emotion and everything. And I just believe that's my purpose, is to inspire women to do that.
So tell me about your speaking engagements. How long have you been out there on the circuit, speaking in public and doing all that? Tell me a little bit about that.
I have been speaking. I think I was demanding a light and a mic from the crib, actually. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I was. But I love meeting people. I love interacting, engaging with people. It's just something I absolutely love. Even if I'm speaking, if I'm the wrap-up speaker at the end of a day, I get there first thing in the morning just so I can have fun and visit with everybody all day. I call myself an extreme extrovert. I love just getting out and meeting new people and interacting with people, and hearing stories. I love stories. I'm all about storytelling. But I try, I speak as much as I possibly can and push myself. Sometimes I have some pictures out on social media I've been reposting lately about, I feel like speaking is a calling for me. And it's a picture of me on stage with my knee in a brace, my arm in a sling, and my cane in my hand and my book in my hand with the sling. Because just a week before that speaking engagement, we were in another car accident where somebody hit us from behind. And I had a severe concussion and I had a completely torn and ruptured rotator cuff. And my doctor told me, "You're not going to speak. You need to cancel that event." And she said, "Come back on Thursday and we'll talk about it." So I canceled my appointment on Thursday and I went and spoke, and I went to see her the next week. And she said, "You went to speak, didn't you?" And I went, "Of course I did. I did," because I love it that much.
Yeah.
And I feel that much of a call to do it, to speak.
And the one thing that I love when I have somebody on like yourself that has built community and been on stage writing and helping people is there's an opportunity for your audience, your community to hear you here on the podcast and connect with you in a different way and hear you talk about things they may not hear from the stage. What would you like to say to your community that is here with us today, listening to you on the podcast? They've come for you. They love you. What would you like to say to them? I'm out of the way here. Just talk to them directly. What would you like to say to those that have been sitting in those seats or meeting you at all these different events and they're inspired by your books and by you as a speaker? What would you like to say to them?
I love them and I appreciate everything that they have watched me go through. I appreciate the fact that they have supported me and followed me and continue to do so, and are sending me emails and media DM messages right now saying, "Where's the next book? Why is it out yet? It's supposed to be out." To know that there's still Beauty Rising from Brokenness came out in 2018, late 2018. And I had planned on the next book coming out a year later. And then life happens, that second car accident and COVID and all these other things. And so it's not coming out till now. So I appreciate the fact that they're still waiting and they still remember and they're still pursuing me, wanting to know what happens next. I did leave you hanging in the end of the book, like all good authors do. So that's what I believe our job is. So, but they're just like, "We can't wait to read the next book." And so I just appreciate them following me and sticking with me through this journey, because their stories give me energy and encouragement to go out and to continue to share.
So talk a little bit more about who Beauty for Brokenness is written for. Kind of who did you have in mind? by putting this together. Talk a little bit about that.
Beauty Rising from Brokenness is anybody who has had a difficult or traumatic childhood, a difficult or traumatic life. I have a lot of women reach out to me who have been through domestic violence and things like that. They can relate because I talk about narcissism and I talk about how a narcissistic person, how they gaslight you and how they convince you that it's you and all of these things. And a lot of people who don't know that those traumas can trigger health issues later in their life, especially autoimmune illnesses, diabetes, obesity. All of those things can be triggered by childhood traumas or adult traumas as well. And if you try to bury those and you don't deal with them, they only manifest and grow and it's like a cancer. It just continues to grow until you get it out and heal it. And so I wrote the book to encourage other people who have been through traumas or going through traumas to write their story or tell their story and then examine it. And it's better if you can write it. And I get so many people that are like, I don't like to write. I hate to write. And I felt the same way. I had no intention of ever being an author. It wasn't my idea. It just came to me from somewhere else. And, from a higher power told me that I needed to write. It wasn't something that I pursued or ever even considered doing. But once you write, and even if you record it and then have it transcribed or get an app that transcribes it, then you can go through and you can single out those traumas and the damage that they've caused. Just to give you a quick example, when I was in high school, I drove to school every day and I had a friend that rode with me. And I love country music. I'd sing country music at the top of my lungs. And so one day I said, I think I might want to be a country singer. And she said, I think you need to get another drink. And I took that label and I stuck it on me. It was a flippant teenage comment that meant nothing. She doesn't remember ever saying it. We're still friends to this day. She doesn't remember it. But I took that and I put that label on me. You can't sing. You don't need to sing. And I did not sing.
Wow.
Until in 2019, I was speaking at a conference. It was my second time to be at this conference at a small church in West Virginia. And I thought, I'm going to talk about limiting beliefs and how having a limited belief robs you of your joy. And I called them up and I said, I want to sing a song with the praise team after I speak. And I was shaking and quaking and scared to death, but I did it. I overcame it because I wasn't going to wear that label anymore. I took that label off and I threw it away. And that was not my label. And to tell you how impactful that has been my whole life, my husband has always said, you have a beautiful voice. You have a beautiful voice. But that label was still on me. When I did that at that church, he stood in the back of the church, tears streaming down his face. And he's a military man. He doesn't cry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was just amazing to me that I was able to overcome that hurdle, and not just what it meant to me, but what it meant to the ladies that were there, the ladies I sang with. They recorded it on their phones and they're like, can we post this on social media? And it's still out there, me on that stage singing. And, and they even tried to get me to sing a verse by myself. I'm like, I'm not there yet. Don't push me that hard. I'm not going to be a country music star, but I did overcome that. And that's just what I want to get across to people is that you can overcome those things that those labels you've stuck to yourself, that somebody said that they may not have even been thinking or acting in rationally, or they may have done it on purpose. But that doesn't mean you have to take it as your truth.
What a great example to do live in front of everyone as well. One thing to talk about it's one thing to write about it, but then to do that in front of a group of people and address that label in front of everyone. What a moment.
It was amazing. And I actually have some master classes that I'm teaching right now. And I put that picture of me standing on that stage speaking on one of the social media posts I put out. And several of the ladies go, I remember that. I was there. I witnessed that. And so it's just amazing to know they're still watching. Even that was 2019. This is 2023, and they're still watching. They're still engaged.
How exciting is it for you then to work with somebody who has a label like that and see them take their label off, just as you did? What does that feel like for you?
That is just sheer excitement for me to see somebody else be able to step out of those chains and those bonds and gain that freedom, even if it's in one small area. Because once you do it once, it gives you the courage to do it again, because you realize how exciting and how freeing it is and how much better you feel once you've taken that off. And you said, that's not going to define me anymore. That's not who I am. And it's the best part of my job. I have the best job in the world. And it's the best part of my job is to see them take, like my book, The Butterfly is very on my front of my book, is to see them come out of that shell and that cocoon and spread their wings for the first time and say, I can sing, or I can speak, I can write, I can do anything I want to do. I can create that.
When I hear the word label, I think of like the labels that are in your shirt on your back of your neck. And it's there, and it just rubs on your neck, and it's a reminder all the time of, that label's annoying, or that label's bothering me, or I can think about it. As I'm talking, I'm already itchy on the back of my neck. And it's so simple to be able to, in most cases, you can just cut that label off and it doesn't bother you anymore, right? But we live with these labels because they came with the shirt or the clothes, and you just kind of like, that label's there. It's annoying and it bothers me, but I just live with it.
Right.
We don't have to live with it, Elizabeth. Exactly. We don't have to, right? We could just take that out, remove it.
Right. You can just take it off, throw it away, and it's gone. And then you're free of it and you can move. Think about, I don't want to move this way because it scratches and it hits, a certain skin tag or something, and it gets even more irritating. You don't have to. You can move and be free if you just cut it out and throw it away. Just don't let it define you. It's not who you are.
So we have permission to do that.
Absolutely, you have permission to do that. And if you need somebody to hold your hand, reach out to me. I'm happy to hold your hand. I'm happy to hold those scissors and help you cut that label off.
See? Love it. Okay, so the two of you, as a husband and wife, you guys help people. You work with people. Talk a little bit about what the two of you do together, and building community around that as well.
Yes, I started this journey for me 6 years ago, coming out of the accident and everything. And then my husband retired about a year and a half ago from a 33-year career with the Air Force. And in that course of that career, we saw every kind of difficulty that there can be for married couples. And we went through them as well. The deployments, he goes away, you're in charge of all the kids and all the house and everything. Yeah. Then he comes back, he wants his jobs back, and you don't want to give them back. And I've been running this show and I'm doing a good job. And it can be, there's a lot of things, not to mention all of the things that I went through, going through healing from my childhood traumas. He had childhood traumas as well that he brought in the marriage. So we both came in with baggage. And then on top of that, the car accident and having to figure out how to keep our marriage and our family together and work as a unit. So when he retired, we decided that we wanted to help couples figure out how to live their lives in more harmony and have a better marriage. Even if you have a good marriage, you can have a better marriage. Because you never really reach that level of everything is perfect, at least I don't think so. At least not here. We aren't going to reach that. So we decided to become marriage coaches. So we got training and certification through a program out of Florida called Married for a Purpose. And we do marriage coaching, and we go and work with couples, especially couples that we work with that we identify with best is, of course, military couples, but also couples who live in their RVs. So if you live in your RV, you'll know there are some days, like yesterday was just not a good day for both of us to be in the RV together. We just needed to go to our separate corners, and they're not very far apart in an RV. But, we work with couples who are struggling or couples who have a good marriage and they want to go to a great marriage. And we do either we do classes, we do workshops, we do speak at conferences together, and we also do a weekend retreat reboot. So just like your computer, when it starts glitching and you have to unplug it and reboot it, sometimes your marriage needs a reboot. So we go in and we take you from a 50,000 mile view, and we go down until we focus in on why did we get together in the first place? What do we have in common? What are our common core? What are our common values? Our common, and we work from there to build a plan for them to move forward as a couple. And we absolutely love it. And so we work mostly with military couples that are in their RVs, that live in their RVs full time, or couples who ride motorcycles, because that's what we do also. People ask me, and I see that look.
I love it.
You were in that bad wreck and you get on a motorcycle.
I love it. Really?
Get that question all the time. And you know what? I can't live my life like that. If I was going to live my life like that, I'd never get another Suburban. I'd never follow another semi truck on the interstate. I'd never go camping again. I can't live my life that way.
Right.
I have to live my life to the full, and whatever happens, happens.
And therein lies, I think, one of the major fears is it could happen again. And I'm crippled by that fear and I'm going to limit the chance of that ever repeating itself. So I'm going to hide.
Right. And you can't hide.
No.
I mean, people slip in their bathroom and hit their head and die every day. Are you never going to go in a bathroom again? You can't do that. You can't live your life that way. You just have to embrace life, all of it, for the good, the bad, and the otherwise, and go out and make a difference. At least that's my philosophy. That's why I get up in the morning.
Talk a little bit about writing a trilogy. How did you know that book one would lead to multiple books, or is it just happening? What's your thought process as you write?
I never thought I would write at all. And when I wrote this book, I had been asked to be part of an anthology, and I'd written a chapter in the anthology. And the lady that did that anthology was very, very encouraging to me. And she sent me a card, and I still have it. I keep it on my refrigerator and she said, "New York Times bestseller, here she comes." When I turned my chapter into her, I had one sentence that she needed editing. And that's because I lost my train of thought. And she goes, "I don't understand what you're saying." And I'm like, "I don't understand what I'm saying either. Somebody interrupted me. This is what I was saying." And that was it. And she said, "You are going to be a New York Times bestseller." I mean, she just spoke that into my life, and it encouraged me to step up and to write this book and to tell the whole story, because that was, of course, just a short chapter part of the story. And so when I started writing this, I just woke up every day really early, and I'm not a morning person. And God just woke me up every morning, and I just wrote. And it just poured out of me. And when I finished it, I guess I did have in the back of my mind to write a second book, because I knew the story of the accident. I'd already lived through that and the healing from that. And I didn't want to write War and Peace. So I feel like it needed to be more than one book. So I did, because I do leave the reader hanging at the accident happening. So I did have the thought of writing the second book. The third book, I really thought of writing when questions started coming back to me from readers about this book, and questions that were unanswered that I had not answered in book two. And I had not answered them in book two because book two ended before I got the answers. So it's like, well, I guess it's got to be a trilogy. So I know the theme of book three. I know the questions that it's going to answer, but I'm still living it out, and I don't know exactly how it's going to end.
And hence the name of my podcast, Living the Next Chapter.
There you go. It all comes back around.
Okay, so you talked about a label that you discarded, but you also then adopted a new label, Bestselling Author. Like, you have a new label. You've replaced.
I have actually International Bestselling Author times 5.
Times 5.
Times 5.
So you do have a new label.
I do have a new label. And that's the thing, too. You can rip off those old labels and you can put a new label on. You get to choose the labels. Everybody else doesn't get to put those on you. You get to choose them. This is who I am. I get to say who I am.
It's
I'm
kind
not
of
giving
like
that power to anybody else.
when I think labels, I think of like a NASCAR driver with all of the different sponsors all over their clothes,
Yes.
identifying all the people that paid them to be there. Your labels could be either things that you're going to take off, bad things, but they could also be good things.
Right.
And you
I wish
need to
somebody
keep them
would
close.
wish somebody would sponsor some labels that I'm put. I
Yeah.
need some sponsors.
Come on, people. We'll have all the links in the show notes. Make sure we sponsor this amazing couple. Let's
Please.
do that. We got motorcycle sponsors. You could have travel sponsors. We got all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that'd be great. A new RV would be amazing. Somebody could sponsor me a new RV. I like Tiffins.
There you go. We will take care of that. Somebody out there's listening. Amazing. Okay. What do you have planned for the future, speaking wise, as a couple working with people? Where are you headed in the next near future?
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow with a Wounded Warriors program here in Florida that we're going to be talking to them about doing some marriage workshops and things with them. We're always looking for churches or organizations that we can come out and do a marriage workshop and just we have a workshop that we do. We can do a 2-hour or a 3-hour workshop, and either in the evening or on the weekends, and just introduce ourselves and work through some things that are surface level. And if anybody wants to work deeper, they can get in touch with us. They can go to our website, theclamongroup.com, CLAMON, Clamon. And you can find out all about our marriage ministry and what we do. I am going to be speaking at several virtual events. I also have a book signing coming up at the National Speakers Association in July in Orlando. So I'll be doing a book signing there. Just finished doing a book signing at NRB in the end of May. So we have, quite a bit coming up. I'm just excited about all the things. I did a podcast this morning, got a couple more. You can also check out our podcast at Faith and Hope with Sweet Tea and Sass. It's on all the podcast channels. And I'm Sass, in case you wondered.
There you go.
And we do appear on stage as Sweet Tea and Sass, as our with our Southernisms. So that's quite entertaining.
I like Sweet Tea. There you go. That's great.
He's sweet. He's just a sweet guy. He'd have to be to stick around with me with all this sass.
It's amazing. And to Arnold, your husband, thank you for his service, and to go and do something that not everyone feels compelled to do or whatever, to see somebody who's done that and given his life to serve his country. Thank you. Pass that along, please. That is amazing.
And I'll accept that gratitude as well, because I made a lot of sacrifices.
You did. And for your family and everything. That's a big calling. It's a big calling. That's
one of my soapbox issues, is getting more awareness out there to thank spouses and children for what they sacrifice. Right. Because we give you the most valuable thing we have. And we say, you could send them off to war. And if they come back not the same person or injured or they don't come back, it's okay. We'll be okay. And that is just so hard. And I think one of the things that my husband does that really touches me is when people come up to him and they'll be, thank you for your service. And he go, you need to take her. She's the hero. And I'm like, wow, I don't think about that as myself, for myself, but for spouses, they do sacrifice a whole lot. And the families, the kids, it's not easy on the kids. It's really difficult.
What I
the
love
birthdays, the Christmases, the Thanksgivings, everything that they miss.
And I love the fact that you as a couple can speak into the lives of others who are living this and speak from wisdom and knowledge firsthand and help people, help other couples.
You can do it.
Right.
Yes, you can do it. You can stick it out. It's not easy, but nothing in life worth having is easy.
Amazing. To the both of you and your family for being heroes. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for illustrating for us a life of resilience and a life of removing those labels that don't serve us and adopting the ones that do, and giving us the future that we're all entitled to. It's amazing.
That is what I get. I get the most joy from seeing is people being set free from those chains that bind them and breaking free. That is the joy of my life. Besides my grandchildren, those are my first joy.
And your motorcycle as well?
Oh yeah. Well, I would put the motorcycle after the people. People are more important. Although I do love my shiny red motorcycle.
There you go. Come on. You got to enjoy that. That's amazing.
Oh, I do. And my doctor told my husband, he goes, you did the perfect thing. You got the one with the queen seat on the back. So my seat is like a recliner. I have armrests and a cup holder and the whole thing.
I have friends that travel around on their bikes all the time. And he's driving. She's on the back. She'll fall asleep. And I'm like, how do you fall asleep on a bike? That freaks me out. But that's amazing. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah. I have fallen asleep driving across South Dakota and North Dakota, going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I have literally, he'll know when my helmet hits his helmet, I'm asleep.
You're out.
Yeah. I just have to make sure his backrest is in there secure and my armrests are in and I'm good. You're go.
Good. I love
Pretty snug.
There you go. It sounds like you guys need to get out there on the bike again and make another ride. So,
oh, we do, but it is so hot here in Florida. We went for a ride a couple of weeks ago. We had to go at like 6 o'clock in the morning and be home by 10 because it's just so hot. Yeah. So we're headed to Tennessee in the 1st of August, and we are looking forward to the Smoky Mountains.
There you go. Beautiful. Awesome.
Yes.
Elizabeth, thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for making time to chat with us and to share your books. We'll have links to all your information in the show notes as well, so everyone can connect with you. If you're looking for a great speaking couple to come to your church or your organization and help other couples, here you go. Elizabeth and Arnold come in and help and bring all of this sweet tea and sass with them.
Yes, all the sass. I can't leave the sass at home. It goes everywhere with me. I got it from my grandmother.
There you go. Wear that label with pride.
Oh, I do. Bertha's granddaughter. That's me.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
It's great. Really appreciate you being here and being part of our podcast community. LivingTheNextChapter.com is our website. I have an offer for you as an author, if you're listening, and you're wanting to build your website for your book. I've had so many authors come on and they're struggling in this area. I'd love to help you. All of the websites that I built for my different podcasts, I have experience and I'd love to help you and get you up and running. I can help you with your domain purchase. I can help you with setting up your podcast, making it really simple. And if you love Canva, we can even set it up on Canva for you and you can do all your own maintenance. You don't need to hire anybody. We'll help you get set up. So if that interests you as an author and you want a website for your book, let me know. We can do this. I can help you. LivingTheNextChapter.com is the website for the podcast. You can find me there. I'd love to help you. Reach out. Let me know if I can be of assistance in any way. And thank you again for listening to Living the Next Chapter. Today is where your book begins. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening.